I'd like to call the Thursday, November 9th, 2023 Shenandoah County School Board to order at 6:30 p.m. at the county boardroom. Ms. Shepherd, do you have a motion or recommendation for executive session, please?
I do. I recommend the School Board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of several employees of the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1, and I recommend the School Board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under Virginia Freedom of Information Act for the purposes of discussing and considering several student matters involving the omission, discipline, or disclosure of information contained in the scholastic record of students in the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to that effect, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of several employees of the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.23711A14, and to discuss and consider several student matters involving the admission, discipline, or the disclosure of information contained in a scholastic record of students in the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.23711A2.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Gutschall. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried by a 6-0 vote. We will hopefully be returning by 7 p.m. Hear a motion to reconvene in open session, please.
I move that we reconvene in open session.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Brooks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried by 6-0 vote. The Shenandoah County School Board hereby certifies by roll call vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open session requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies. And second, only such public business matters as was identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Shenandoah County Public School Board. Each member responds, "I so certify," when called by the clerk.
Ms. Walsh,
I so certify.
Mr. Gutschall,
I so certify.
Mr. Bartlett,
I so certify.
Ms. Roots,
I so certify.
Mr. Keller,
I so certify.
Mr. Hustler.
I so certify. Okay, today, Ms. Roots, we're going to have the invocation and pledge, but before that, we have a few people to honor their memory of that served our county over the years. First, Carol Maria Rednar, according to Ms. Jett, she taught at Fort Valley Elementary School, and we haven't found out when that school actually closed. But anyway, and then second, Kathy John, who worked a number of years in our cafeteria in the county. And finally, Andy King. This young man, as was in the news, 27 years old. He graduated from Clark County High School, went to Virginia Tech, a member of the Corps Cadets, enlisted in the Army Reserve, and lost his life on a training exercise in Richmond last week. His funeral will be at the fairgrounds tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I believe. He volunteered in Woodstock, and I think, Kyle, he ran occasionally the chain gang for Central football games. So if we take a moment of silence to remember these people and their families that deal with their loss. Thank you. Ms. Fritz.
And I've asked a member of our audience to give invocation this evening.
See, I told you had a purpose.
There you go.
There's no microphone, but I talk loud.
Oh, wait a minute.
Here it comes.
Ask and ye shall receive.
How biblical. Pastor Katie Goswine, Edinburgh Lutheran Parish. Let us pray. Gracious God and Father, we thank you for the servants that you have provided in our Shenandoah County Public Schools. We thank you for their faithfulness. We thank you that many lay down their lives and give their life energy for the sake of our families and our children. We ask your blessing on this meeting, that all we do might bring peace and harmony, that it might continue to lift up education and the importance of this gift that you have given us. We remember those who have passed, especially lifting up the King family in their most recent loss. And we ask your blessing on Pastor Nate and all those who will be at the service tomorrow. May it be a comfort to the family and the community as we remember this wonderful man. All we do is in your name. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Roots. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried by 6-0 vote. According to our good superintendent, we do not have any recognitions this evening. Going on, public and staff comments. The Shenandoah County Public School doing their regular meeting and doing public meetings, do not respond. Let me start again, please. Shenandoah County School Board welcomes public comment during most regular meetings and during public meetings. School board members do not respond to public comments during the meeting or hearing. Each speaker may speak up to 3 minutes. The board usually allows 30 minutes for public comments. If there's a large number of speakers, the board may reduce the time allotted. All comments should address the matter related to Shenandoah County Public Schools. Complaints regarding division employees should be directed to the school principal or the appropriate school division official. The school board expects each speaker to be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with other views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire school board and not to one individual school board member or to the superintendent, to a staff member, or to the audience. Speakers will not engage in personal attacks. Speakers were asked to sign up as you enter the room this evening, and they will be called upon as signed up. And the first one is Mr. Charles Street.
Thank you, Marty. I'm glad I'm not the only one that does that. Good evening. I hope everyone is well. Elected school board members, Superintendent Dr. Melody Shepard, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. First, I would like to wish all the athletes good luck in the postseason play, especially Central Girls Volleyball Team, the Central Football Team. Second, I would like to thank the exiting members of the school board for their time served. Thank you. Third, I welcome the 3 newly elected school board members. I look forward to in anticipation in what the new board members will bring to the table. I feel confident the new school board's enthusiasm will be productive. The Shenandoah County voters got their say 2 years ago, and finally the rest of the county had their voices heard Tuesday. The voters of Shenandoah County are still upset over the debacle and actions of the previous board and previous superintendent. The margins of victory 2 years ago and also Tuesday were huge. Fourth, I received a package from Ashby Lee Elementary School. Inside were thank you notes from a Careers on Wheels Day last month that we participated in. I was really touched that the students enjoyed and mostly learned about the different job opportunities in this county. We were honored to be a part of the wonderful event. Fifth, the library policy, as I stated last month, in my opinion, is accusing the library, nobody is accusing the librarians as to which books are in the libraries or how they got there. Some just fall through the cracks, so to speak. But 100 books made their way into the system somehow. Some people need to understand this policy is to help the librarians. Nobody's trying to dictate which books are put on the shelves, just that the books are suitable for the students. That's all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Steve Heisman.
Good evening, school board members. Is this on?
You don't need it, Steve.
Good evening, school board members and Dr. Shepard, and thank you also for allowing me to speak my voice this evening. I always have to start off with a a praise and a shout out to weekly religious education, and it is very inspiring to know that it is up and running strong and steady as it started off this year 3 times stronger than what it finished last year. And that is all praise and glory to the one that we all are thinking about in our hearts. Congratulations to the 3 new school board candidates from the elections the other day, and I want to thank all of the school board members here for your service. The school board policy, the library book policy that is in question, and I think is going to be voted on this evening, and I believe, did I find that on the agenda last night? And I printed it and read over it, and I saw the updates and what will hopefully get this policy passed. I myself believe that there should be absolute 0% tolerance on this issue, because most all of the students that this involves is under the age of 18. Just the other day, I had a short conversation with one of my sisters on this issue. She didn't know a whole lot about it. Now, she's got 2 grandchildren that are homeschooled, so we share ideas, okay? And when I was explaining to her what this policy update and proposal is, her one question was, why is there not 0 tolerance? Why is it even a conversation that this type of material is being allowed, snuck into, indoctrinated in? You call it what you want. Why is it in the public school system available to our students that are under the age of 18 years old? It was a very good question that she had. So I hope and I trust that you responsible board members will take this policy update very, very serious and pass it after little or later in the meeting. The last thing I just need to do another lift up and praise. Just the football season has just ended, and just a couple days ago, the team members were picked and notified who was chosen to play on the All-Star in the All-Star football game here sometime in December. And the Generals football team had one player that was chosen to play in this game, and his name happens to be Trey Heisman, who happens to be a grandson of guess who. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Mike Shelby.
You almost got it right this time, Marty.
I butchered that every time.
I'm going to have to send you a postcard. So, I'm Mike Scheibe, not Shelby, but I'll go by that too. That is my dog's name. I wanted to just touch briefly on a couple things. The biggest one is, or the main one, is the library policy. I want to commend everyone on the board who put work into this. As it moved along, there were compromises. There was a lot of work, specifically with Andrew and Dennis recently. So I really applaud you guys for that. Because I started looking into doing research, as I like to do on my own, and I found a lot of things. And the letter of the night is I, the I. So I found a lot of inconsistencies in purchasing, in what books were there, and other things said they weren't. I found, through some FOIA requests, I found insubordination from school employees towards, school board and other members. And I found a lot of misinformation anyway, along that regards. And then some commentary, and then from the public, I found flat out ignorance. So, I think that I commend all of you once again on this policy, but I cannot stress enough the importance that it is. Parents should have a voice in this too. not just the librarians, and the parents' voice really shouldn't outweigh the librarians. I mean, my aunt is a librarian at a school in Pennsylvania, and, I talked to her extensively about this, and, and she gave me a lot of insight. So, I think the new policy as is being presented tonight has really made a lot of compromise, and it hits most of the nails on the head. So, and I hope that you pass it, as is, because it's been a long time coming. I mean, we've been talking about this for over a year, closer to 2. And secondly, before I go, Cindy, Marty, Andrew, I want to thank you for the time and years that you've put in on this school board. We haven't always seen eye to eye, but we've been able to talk civilly and things, and that's something that seems to be lacking in a lot of America today, and here in our county as well. So, thank you for all you've done over these years, and that you'll continue to do through the end of your tenure, and the rest of the school board. I mean, you guys too, obviously. So, but I'll puff you guys a little bit up on your last day too. So, all right. But thank you all, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
And 11:30 works.
Anyone else like to speak that's not on the, that did not sign up? Okay, hearing none, we will proceed. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Gutschall. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barlow. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried by a 6-0 vote. Okay, going on to section 4, information agenda. First, 4.1, new program of studies for the middle school and revised program for the high school. Mr. Hensel.
You're right there. Good afternoon. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ms. Shepard, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you our updates to our secondary program of studies and what we've put together as a middle school program of studies. First, I'm going to start with the secondary program of studies, our high schools that we do each year. Each year we strive to provide courses that are relevant to our student population that we have and what's pertinent within our community and within society as our children are growing up. This process really starts at this time for next year too. So throughout the 22-23 school year, the principals continue to evaluate what they need in their schools, what their students would need. On October 26th, we met together with the recommendations. What happens is that the teachers will meet with the principals at each school, and they will go through their recommendations, and if it fits what the school needs, and at that point, the principal will forward that recommendation to our committee that the whole division meets with. So we met on October the 26th, which are the courses that you have in front of you this morning, or this afternoon, I'm sorry, and we'll bring it back in December for approval. The first one on the list is a new course, but it's something that we've always done for our English as a second language. The courses that they were taking, they did not get a sequential elective. Within our program of studies, we're able to offer English as a second language that they will also get 2 of them in a row that gives a sequential elective that goes towards their graduation, where they weren't getting that before. First aid and CPR and AED training, we've always been doing that as part of graduation, but what we want to do is we want to add it into our 9th grade health and physical education as a course, just as we do driver's education. Before we were hand tallying, marking kids that had completed for graduation. This way our system will automatically keep it and we can do a quick search of who's completed the course. Next are 2 courses at Triplet Tech. These 2 courses would be provided within a semester. It's medical billing and coding 1 and 2. We'll be able to offer that as a general course within a semester, and we'll also, at the very bottom of other suggested amendments, we'll offer that as a dual enrollment course also through Laurel Ridge. The last recommendation that you have before you would be Spanish 2 honors. Right now we don't have an honors after you leave Spanish 1. We have a Spanish 3 honors, so we're adding in a Spanish 2 honors. Once students have entered taken the course and they've showed they excelled, they have an option to take an honors course in Spanish. Those are the recommendations for the new program of studies for the 24-25. Everything else would remain the same. Do you have any questions on that one? Come on. Middle school. So we've always had courses at middle school, but we've never had a program of studies that outlined what is actually at the middle school. One thing that we run into is that courses may be named differently, but they're the same course because schools were acting individually throughout the county. So the principals have worked hard on this along with Ms. Miller. She's went through and she has taken every course in the county, paired them up to see out of our 3 middle schools who is offering what. If something's missing, can we offer that at another school also? So their principals are able to see what each other are offering at our middle schools. So out of this, we have brought before you today, this started back right around in COVID originally. And COVID kind of knocked it off the trail until now. Amy has spearheaded that. I thank her a lot for taking over this and going through it. As you can see, if I can use the mouse, it was not working very well. It gives general information, which is about the program of studies, academic and career planning that every student will need to do. And it starts introducing those career clusters to our students that are very important within the CTE world. It outlines the grading policy and practices in Shenandoah County Public Schools, which we've worked on. It gives parents an idea of how the scheduling works within middle school, as far as changes, what happens with changes. Also, if you want to remove a course, a student may take a high school level course in 8th grade. The parent has an option to remove the grade going into high school if they want. So it's trying to get this information in front of our parents earlier so they can see it and not later after it's all done. At each grade level, it has tiles that can be clicked on, and when they click on the tiles, it opens up and it gives a description of the courses at that grade level. So they can go through English, math, science, history, PE, and then the electives that would be offered within, in this example, 6th grade. So we have all of the career and technical courses that are provided to our 6th grade students, all of our fine arts that are provided, the world languages, and then our GATE program for our students that are involved in GATE. And this is repetitive through 7th grade and 8th grade. So this is a method to bring consistency across all schools, make sure that courses are named the same, and that we're also teaching the same type of content. If it's a world cultures class, we're teaching the same type of content. Any questions?
Questions?
So if the parents choose not to have the grade follow them to high school, do they need to take the class again?
Yes.
So
what they would fill out a form, that we have a form that they fill out that would go in their cumulative file saying that they've asked to have that redacted from their transcript.
Got it. Okay.
And then they could retake it.
That's
Yes.
what it used to be.
Yep.
Just a comment, I think it's a great idea to provide program studies at the middle school level as well. And I think that might alleviate some concern at the beginning of the year. I know that this year, for example, we had a course that was mistitled, I guess.
Yes, mistitled. It was the same course being offered at another school, just they had used it 4 years ago.
Right.
And they pulled that course back out. So one of the things, I'm glad you mentioned that, so one of the things that we did is that we've went through and we've removed all of those courses. So the school is not able to go in and grab that course name to be able to put in, it's gone. So they all have the same courses in front of them when they're selecting.
Yeah, I've got one going to middle school next year. I'm going to be your advocate.
Any other questions?
I like the way you have it set up here too, that it's really easy to navigate. You know, some of the course studies pages that we've had in the past have been really complicated,
Mhm.
but this this puts it very simply for parents who are new to choosing classes.
Yes.
You know, it's more complicated at the high school, but it's nice that it's very easy, user-friendly.
And that was one of the goals starting out, to make it easy to navigate for parents, because it is the first time coming out of elementary school
Right.
that they would start navigating it through a program of studies.
Right, thank you.
So you've got the 8th grade math placement, the explanation on that?
Yeah.
Which is, you know, for those that are on that bubble of whether they should be in Algebra 1 or, you know, how that works.
Yes.
And those discussions, it's pretty well laid out here. The Iowa Algebra Aptitude Test, that's wonderful, wonderful information. And, yes, nice one.
We're trying to be as transparent as we possibly can be with parents, and we always work through that. Nothing is ever concrete, obviously. So we use multiple measures within assessments to determine those too. So.
Well, information generally gets passed from student to student, however, on how things should be done, so it's great that it's in black and white. Yeah.
Yes. Anything else?
I had a parent over the weekend contact me. We do not retain students at the middle school.
Absolutely, we can retain students at the middle school.
Have we?
Yes.
Is that based on your SOL scores?
No.
It just...
It's a compilation of lots of things that they sit down and take into account. So it's not one determining factor.
Okay.
I don't think we make a practice of it. That's, I think, is where we're kind of, the culture is here, especially since COVID, that we're not retaining students that aren't passing not only their SOLs, I mean, their report cards show one thing, when they go to take the SOLs, different things, different teachers weigh in, and I don't believe, you know, I know when I talked to Mr. Schlettner, I think last year, he was talking to parents about retention, but it's something that we don't really have a culture for, because there's a mentality that it's damaging to their self-esteem if we withhold them or we retain them. And that's something that this board will probably have to discuss on, you know, do we take, you know, are we looking at those, is it in the best interest, especially if they're younger, with COVID, if they haven't been able to caught up. I mean, tutoring, we're obviously looking at that, but if you know, if they're just not where they should be, is retention the best option for them? And I'm not sure if we're using it. I mean, do you have any numbers on how many we've...
I don't have any numbers on that right now.
Yeah. So I think that's probably what is the culture is probably similar, something we're in that ballpark that has probably needs to be discussed.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, proceeding to 4.2, overview of light spot safety app by Dr. Heingardner.
Good evening, Chairman Helsley and board members, Dr. Shepard. I asked Ms. Litton if she would join me up front. We're going to talk about LifeSpot app, but this was a perfect opportunity to take a few minutes and just talk about school safety in general, which is our number one priority. It's the only priority, and I often tell people it's the only priority that trumps teaching children how to read, is keeping them safe. And so, you know, we wanted to take a few minutes just to chat about that. And I'll ask Debbie to kind of kick us off.
All right, thank you, Dr. Heingardner. As you know, you look at the crisis management plan for our school division every year, and you have to okay that. And we base everything on the 4 phases of emergency management, which is prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery. And we're going to talk a lot about prevention today. School safety starts in the school and the relationships that are built there. And You have to have a sense of belonging if you're a student. We encourage all of our students not just to come to school, go to class, and go home. Can we get involved in school? Can we have a sense of belonging in that school? And teachers work hard to get students engaged. We want to make sure they have strong connections to the school, because then with that will also come academic success, but then also will make a well-rounded human being. So all of that is really, those first three things is all about school culture and the culture that you have in that building. And all of you have been in a building, and you know what that building feels like the very moment you walk into it. And so you know what that culture is promoting. Also on the prevention layer, we have threat assessment teams in all of our schools. And there are very specific protocols which are outlined in the crisis plan on what we have to do for threat assessments. And we conduct those according to the protocol. We make sure everybody's trained in those protocols. We also have great communication with our law enforcement. We have SROs in every building, which we'll talk more about in just a moment. But we also, that is imperative, because they let us know things that are happening in the community. So the student doesn't really do anything in school, but they're doing things in the community, and we need to know that as well, so that we can help that child make some better decisions, not only in school, but also in his life. The physical security that you can see in our buildings, we have all of our doors are locked except one. You have to be buzzed in. We have our badges that we use, and all the schools have a visitor management system, so that we are scanning for sexual offenders and making sure that the student is going home with the right person. So we've got to make sure that those people are vetted. All of our schools have a school crisis plan, and we also have, of course, our division crisis plan, and all of those are interconnected. All of those crisis plans are developed with our partners in the community, with law enforcement, fire and rescue, health, and mental health people. So our plans are very interconnected. We have secure vestibules where you have to be signed in. We know that, and buzzed in, and we know that we're working on those vestibules at the elementary schools this year, and those hopefully will be built and will be completed. So that's exciting, because we want to make sure that we have as much safety as we can. We want to layer as many things as we can to make it as safe as possible. We have a very thriving SRO program, and again, I want to tout it, and I want you to understand that we have an SRO in every school in our school division, and that is not how it works in the state of Virginia. Not every school division has an SRO in every school. In fact, it's usually the elementary school that gets the lowest, and it's the last one to go. But we have a true commitment from our Sheriff's Department to have an SRO in our schools, in every school, and that is just awesome. And I tout that as often as I can. And those SROs are working hard to build those relationships and help to the students make those connections that we referenced at the beginning with our school culture. And we have an MOU with the Sheriff's Department, and we have to update that every year, and that will come for approval for next year. We'll update that. And of course, by state mandate, we have lots of drills that we need to perform throughout the year. Just so that you know, we do fire drills monthly. We do a move-in drill. We usually do that in March, that's in connection with Tornado Awareness Month. We have lockdown drills that we practice, evacuation drills we practice, and who would have thought, we also have earthquake drills that we do here in Shenandoah County as well, and we practice those protocols. So all of those drills are important for students and teachers. It's kind of like an athlete with muscle memory. I got to know exactly what I'm going to do if something is occurring. And we have our SROs involved in that, active threat training every year with our teachers. And so that's a constant thing that we're always looking at, and also reviewing and previewing, and how can we make those drills better every time as well. So lots of layers. You can see lots of layers in our school security. And now here's another layer, and that is the LifeSpot app. And I'm going to have Dr. Heingardner take over and tell you all about that exciting piece of equipment.
Thank you. Ms. Litton wears a lot of hats in the Student Services Department, and taking care of security and safety is one of those. And she does a great job making sure all those plans are up to date and are updated annually and when they're supposed to be. This is one of your Yeah, I don't think it was a written goal. I know it's not a written goal, but I think it was something that you all were very interested in, was having some kind of notification system near our staff who would be able to alert police or fire and rescue in a blink of an eye in an emergency situation. And we heard that, we heard you say that and in various meetings, and so we tried to look and see what would meet that goal. Excuse me, what would work for us, because there's so many moving parts with something like this. And we landed on what's called the LifeSpot app, and I'm just going to give you a real brief overview of that. I will tell you that we started yesterday with with the live version of the LifeSpot app. So it is up and working right now in the school system. It is the one product and one budget line that we all pray we're never going to have to use. This is not used for us two students who get in a fight in the cafeteria. This isn't used when a mad parent comes in because their child was suspended from school. This isn't used if a staff member has a health emergency and we need to call a rescue squad. That's not what this is for. This is for the absolute worst thing that we can ever imagine that would happen in school. This is a gun or a threat to bodily harm. That's what this is used for. So we pray to God we'll never have to use it. Here's what it looks like, though. Here's what it takes care of. Here's what it helps us with. Here are the things that it gives us that we didn't have before yesterday. It immensely reduces response time. It immediately notifies the right people. It gives the precise location of where something's happening. It communicates with all the relevant people in the moment. In the moment communication is what's important here. Identification of the who, of the people that are involved, and you'll see what that means. It gives the ability for reunification, and then it also gives the ability to let people know who is seriously injured. I'll show you how this works. So here's the app. It truly is an app on your phone. I don't want to demonstrate. I don't even want to open it up and take a chance on setting it off. It's not easy to set off, but I don't even want to take a chance. Starting on the left-hand side, a person would open up that app and they would hold their finger on that focus button. And this has a lot of research. I could talk a pretty good while about this because I've learned a lot about it over the last few months. But I won't bore you with all the details, but there's a lot of research that's gone into every little piece of this, and it continues to evolve. A lot of this was put together from Homeland Security and law enforcement who have dealt with mass shootings. All right, this isn't just somebody's good idea. This has a lot of research behind it. And the word focus is one of the research components. A person touches that, has to drag it to the bottom of that red line, and they have to hold it there for 3 seconds. And that gives them a time to process just a little bit more. Is this really what I want to do? Because as soon as I let off of this, I'm going to notify every law enforcement officer, sheriff, town police, and state trooper who is assigned to Shenandoah County is going to get this message, just like a text message, just like that. And so it's a lot of activity going to happen if I set this off. So it gives you a little bit more processing time before you let off of it. Once you do that, then you'll go into a series of screens. It'll ask you to identify the floor where the threat is. And each one of these are modified to meet our schools. So it's just because I think that says something like there's a 1, 2, and 3, and B is for basement. We don't have a third floor, so that's not what ours look like. This is just an example. The third one is going to show, the third screen is going to show this red area, and this red area is about a 40-foot circle that identifies about where the event is taking place. Now, this is what the user sees on their phone. The alert goes off, all people that have the app that are inside of the geofence an imaginary geofence around the property, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second, will get that alert. We cannot mandate that people put it on their personal cell phone. So not every staff member has downloaded it. But we have encouraged, and once they have seen it and gone through the training, most of them have. Over 600 of our employees have downloaded the app and are currently using it. But we can't mandate that they do it. So all staff, that is all staff who have downloaded the app, will get the alert. All the responding officers, the commanding officers, 911 dispatch also gets it, and fire and EMS all have the app. And the company we work with, they did all the training for those folks. So they brought all of them on board. We didn't have to do that. Again, you will see this is the background of a school here in the background, and you can see this red dot shows about where the threat is. The 2 would indicate the floor in there, so that would be saying second floor. Again, the notification screen, the first thing a person who opens this up is going to decide is if they're going to fortify or they're going to flee. They're going to lock down in their classroom or they're going to flee from their classroom, depending on what they may feel and see and recognize on the app. They have to make a decision. When we did our training, we told staff, this app doesn't tell you what to do. This app gives you information from which to decide what to do. Because the app is just your phone. What you see with your eyes is what you need to be most responsible in responding to. This is giving you information to make a decision. It's not telling you specifically what to do. So they still have to use good judgment and the training that they've had on what they need to do to protect themselves and their children in their care. So that's the first thing. The next thing over here is going to come up, a chat feature. And beside that is an injured button. In the chat feature, they're able to communicate with law enforcement and any fire and rescue that have this. They could say, I saw an intruder in the library. I saw a person, with a weapon, it had a black jacket on or whatever. It's pertinent information. This isn't, is this real? Is this really a threat? Is this, this is pertinent, life-saving information only, and they understand that. And they can also then choose if they are injured or if someone in their care is injured. And you'll see why that's important here in 1 second. I just mentioned about the chat feature. When they do chat, they will only see their chat line, their chat with law enforcement. They won't see, possibly hundreds of other people's chat. They'll only see theirs. The neat thing is that the fire and rescue or police can chat back with them. They can say, stay where you are. You're safe right where you're at. Or whatever they may need to say. They can respond. They can respond to the whole group, or they can respond to just one person. When they mark an injury, it's multi-factor, so they make sure they're not mishitting that, because this is really important. When you have EMS coming in to a whole school, they need to know exactly where to go to. They can't try to figure out where to go to. Everything is about knocking down seconds of response. So once they have identified that they or someone in their care is injured, see that little dot right there? That's the same dot right here. See it right here? It's yellow. And yellow means I'm not hunkering down, but I'm fortifying. Hunkering down. I'm fortifying. I'm staying where I'm at. That's what that yellow dot means. But once I identify someone in my care is injured, and I select the injured button, then my little dot will turn red. Law enforcement can see all of this. EMS can see all of this. So they know here's where injured people are. Another nice feature, and especially as we talk to teachers who have been in lockdowns for long periods of time, the worst thing is not knowing what's going on. You're sitting there, 5 minutes feels like 5 hours. And, you have not a lot of connection with what's going on most of the time. With this, you'll have a banner. There's a banner up here, a notification banner, and that will give you information. And as soon as a law enforcement or fire and rescue respond to that app, that banner will let everyone know who has it open that police are responding. Somebody knows that something's going on and they're responding. So you get a little bit of information and a little bit of feeling that, okay, somebody's doing something about this. Then once the fire and rescue or the police arrive inside of the geofence, that banner will change to police have arrived. So now you got a little more comfort and a little more feeling that, okay, help is on the way, that kind of thing. Versus prior to this, you had nothing. You're just kind of sitting there crossing your fingers that everything's going to be okay. With this, you'll have at least a little bit of information. Okay, and this kind of brings it together because this is, and I know it's a little bit tough to see, but this is the screen that the commanders would see, those that are running the fire and rescue and the police, they're going to see all of those dots, and you can see them on your screen. Probably if you're looking there on the computer, there's a number of dots there. You can see some are yellow, there's a couple red ones, and out here are a couple green ones. Remember, green means go, means run, means flee. So when they see green dots well away from the vicinity, they know those people have fled. That's not something that we're kin to. That's not something that we have talked a lot about in trainings I'm talking about over a period of years. Probably when you were teaching, no one ever talked about the teacher taking the kids and running. It was, it was fortify, lock the doors and put stuff over the doors. Now we're evolving more, and this again is based on a lot of research and studying mass shootings and what could people have done to help save more lives. And one of them is, if something's going on in the gym and I'm in the cafeteria and we can run down over that hill and get to wherever, that's what we need to do. And so we're talking more about that. And so this would help in those cases to know where people are. And the reunification piece would also be strengthened by knowing where people are. So that's the power that this product gives us. It's not perfect, and that's one of the things we have told all staff. Nothing is perfect. It runs off of cell service and Wi-Fi, both of which are always 100% perfect, right? If we learned anything, boy, we want to look at what we can do to boost our cell service in some of our schools. It's not very good at all. But nonetheless, that's what it runs off of. So that could, you might be in an area where you don't have good cell service or you don't have good Wi-Fi. So it's not perfect. But it is, as Ms. Litton said, safety is about layering on components to build a thicker safety net. And this is just another product that helps our schools stay safer. Any questions? I do have one more slide to finish with, but I'll take any questions on the app right now.
So it doesn't seem like there is, but Is there a option to use this on the computer, like the user?
No, it's really not. It's really made for the mobile device. And we looked at that also, but there are a lot of pitfalls with both ways. But
Yeah.
this was the option that was felt like most people would be able to utilize, especially because more people have their phone on them all the time than ever have their computer on them, or even their iPad on them all the time. Most people have their phone on them all the time. One thing I didn't mention that I think is important for you to know is that if someone is outside, and this is a good, kind of connects to what you're asking, Kyle, is that, say for example, a bus driver. A bus driver may be in St. Luke, and they're coming into the school. And if they have this app, the app will go off, right? The alarm will go off. Well, they know I'm not going to school. I'm turning around and we're going somewhere else. Well, we're not going to the school. That's a perfect example. So the app will activate and receive inside the geofence. But outside of the geofence, it will only receive. You can't activate it. So this building is in a geofence. But say like if I was at Walmart, you couldn't set it off at Walmart. You couldn't set it off at home. You could receive the alert, but you couldn't set it off. Okay, so there's some safety nets built in there like that for us. So I forgot to mention that. That's probably an important little component to know.
Have we discussed any incentives for those other 500 folks or so to download?
No, at this point we haven't.
What's the rationale? I mean, what are they saying? They don't
Well, okay, here's one thing. Probably the thing that most people do worry about. And since the service is pinging off of the app is pinging off of cell service or Wi-Fi inside that geofence. And so when it's activated, and so I can see when you go over there or when you go down there or when you go way over there, I can see what you're doing. When it's activated, it will track your whereabouts inside that geofence. And I think some folks are a bit skeptical that it's not tracking you always, which it's not, but some may be a bit apprehensive that it is. So we talked a lot about that. Now, only when that device is activated, and let's say this again, we pray to God it will never be activated. But if it is, it will track your whereabouts for all the reasons that we just talked about trying to help save people's lives. But there's some fear or some whatever you might want to call it that's not actually true. It's tracking you all the time.
I'm guessing that if it's their own private phone, they can refuse to have it done.
Right.
If the school system were to provide them with a device,
right,
and say this is part of your job to have this thing available, they'd probably have to do it. And we would
That's
probably
right.
reach a point at which we would decide whether certain key personnel would have to have one of those gizmos assigned to them, in which case part of the job description would be to carry.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and I will tell you one other question came up about this world of hacking that we live in, and that certain, an app could be hacked, and thus people are able to get into your phone and find and get into your, personal information. And so that.
Well, if you're carrying, unless you've got Cricket, you carry an iPhone, you take that chance with absolutely positively anything that you're,
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of times you're being tracked, you're not even know that you're being tracked. So I had a question about the geofencing. Does it cover, because we have a campus setting, is it covering just a high school, or is it covering all three schools? Would be Peter Muhlenberg and Robinson. So, God forbid that we, ever have to use it. But again, all three schools, that close proximity, we don't ever want more than one shooter.
Right.
But if there was a targeted attack, is it covering just Central, or is it going to cover everything?
No, the southern campus and the central campus, that whole campus is one giant geofence. So if one school goes into lockdown and the app goes off at North Fork, it's going to go off at the other schools as well for anyone who has downloaded the app. Same way with at Central.
Right.
At Strasburg, each school is a separate geofence.
So is our protocol at that point, if we have something going on at Central, that we're going to lock down Robinson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's going to be the whole campus?
That's correct.
All right.
That's
wonderful.
right. That's correct.
Will it run off of Wi-Fi? So Woodstock is a abyss when it comes to, you hit certain spots, and unless you're up by the interstate, there's nothing in the middle of town. So if, you mentioned running off of data and in our buildings being issues with that, can they come in and sign in to the Wi-Fi at the school? Would that be something that they can do?
Yes. As a matter of fact, in the information that went out to all of them, they received a link to a document that Mr. Culler, Mr. Taylor put together that shows them exactly what they need to do to get on the employee Wi-Fi at every school. And some of them have, I'm not going to say many of them have, but some of them already have done that. But some of them did that when we introduced this. But again, that's a choice, because again, it's their personal phone.
Right.
But it would definitely be an added layer of security that they would be able to hit, Wi-Fi.
And lastly, what is your thought process on parents downloading this? I mean, they can't set it off, but that's gonna, if they decide to, after seeing this presentation or whatever, and know that that's available, that they're gonna get alerts. I mean, outside that geofence.
Well, the only way that someone would be able to have this on their phone, you can download it on their phone. It's in the App Store and whatever Android calls their thing. But it would not be functional unless we gave them a code that they put in that makes it active for that geofence. And I will tell you, the information from the company, but this is true for other products as well. But definitely in our work with this company, you want to make sure that the right people have this.
Right.
You want to make sure that doesn't mean everybody.
Right.
Because the more, the messier. That other than, and that's why I said at the very beginning, the right users, the boots on the ground users, are the ones who need this. Everybody's going to know about this. It's not like if you don't have this app, you're not going to know this is happening, okay? Obviously, everyone is going to know within minutes probably that something like this is happening. But the core information that law enforcement and fire and rescue need are just those boots on the ground people in that building right there. That's who we need to know about. I don't need to know about everybody else in the community that this app is going off on. So that's why we're trying to make sure it's very restricted to our staff, but obviously open to all of our staff, custodians, secretaries, bookkeepers, ladies in the school board office, and folks, here. So, And one other component is if you work in multiple buildings, you're set up so that it would be active in multiple buildings, regardless of where you worked. So.
Thank you.
Can one of us, well, can I share the Page County example without specifics? So there were employees in Page County who had similar concerns about having it on their phone and being tracked. And I heard from teachers early on about that too here. And then there was an incident in one of their schools that was pretty scary, and a lot more staff downloaded the app after that. Like, I would love if all of our staff would download it right away, but it took an incident for them to realize the value of it.
We used that, we shared that with every training. And just really fast, you probably saw it on the news. You can go back on WHSV TV3 and see it. I think it's still probably on there. But they had a person at Shenandoah Elementary School, and a staff member felt that it was a bad situation, and they set this off. And that person was in handcuffs within 90 seconds. There was an officer a few blocks away from Shenandoah Elementary School that got there. This person was in handcuffs in 90 seconds. You wouldn't even get through 911 in 90 seconds. And 911 is awesome, and it's great, and it's wonderful. But this is like instant text message to your phone. All right, let me leave you with this. Earlier this week, I spent 2 half days in a virtual national conference, and just took a couple things away from that because it was perfect timing and it fit with everything we're talking about. And they say, the key, here are the keys. It's being proactive, doing things like this, being ready, being proactive, being vigilant, being aware. Communication is absolutely paramount, and having the ability to communicate, but also the communication mindset of if you see something or if you hear something, you say something. And that is for all of us. That's for all of us. And that goes to the very last one. And that school safety is everyone's responsibility, not just teachers and principals and board members. It's everybody in our community. When you see something, you got to say something. And if it turns out to be nothing, then that's great. But we'll look into it. That's all I have.
Have we had a practice drill?
No, but that's something we want to do this summer. We definitely want to set up and utilize the app in a drill mode, in a full capacity thing. We've done that at other times, but not using this drill, obviously. We just got it. So.
Other questions?
Just one more thing, sorry, before you go. I just wanted to thank Deb Litton again for all the work that she does on our crisis planning and everything, and also Dr. Shepard for making the vestibules at the elementary schools a priority. You and Melody and I visited a school in Harrisonburg this morning, and that vestibule was an excellent way to get into the school. And I like the signage they have. Those arrows, you couldn't miss them.
You couldn't, that's right. You knew exactly which way to go.
It was open, so I appreciate that.
Anything else? Thank you, Dr. Heingardner. Okay, moving on to 4.3. Ms. Stein, request to increase 2024 operating budget and special budget as a result of the General Assembly passing the HB 6001 budget bill finally.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So on September 14th, 2023, Governor Youngkin signed House Bill 6001, which included a significant investment in public education. The approved budget includes an increase to our operational budget of $847,000, which will be used to help offset various operating costs within the division. Additionally, the plan provides for one-time per pupil funding for the implementation of the Virginia Literacy Act, learning loss, and to combat chronic absenteeism. Shenandoah County Public Schools is receiving $2,115,905 for these efforts, and has just recently received the approved plan, which includes additional tutoring efforts in the areas of math and reading. So I'm bringing this here tonight for your information. It will be on for vote, but we will need to appropriate those funds accordingly.
Okay, questions? Okay, moving on, 4.4, request to increase the special budget for fiscal year 2024 federal and state allocations.
So we, at the same time, we've been receiving our final allocations for our title funds, which are our federal funds. And then with that state budget, we had some changes in the textbook funds. So as a result, the net increase in the special budget will be $38,068, which needs to be appropriated as well.
Okay. And then 4.5, request to increase the operating budget as a result of the IRS refund for adjustment abatements made on the account. Dr. Shepherd at this time.
Thank you. As you may remember, Shenandoah County Public Schools applied for and received Family First Coronavirus Response Act funds during the pandemic. These funds were meant for employers with fewer than 500 employees. Shenandoah County Public Schools has over 1,000 employees, so we did not qualify for these funds. Even though we did not qualify for the funds, we received a total of $139,712.81 for July 2020 through March 2021 from the Internal Revenue Service for the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Last year, Shenandoah County Public Schools received notification from the IRS that we did not qualify for these funds and were required to repay the money received from the Family First Coronavirus Response Act with penalty and interest. From October 2022 through May 2023, we repaid the IRS $148,216.22, which was $8,503.41 in interest. Working with the IRS collections agents, we were able to get the $115,479.44 abated. In August 2023, we received notice of overpayment and a check from the IRS in the amount of $113,611.25 due to overpayment in connection with the Families First Coronavirus Response Act Form 941. Since that time, we've been working with a tax attorney from Sands Anderson to make sure the IRS would not turn around and bill us again. The attorney has pulled the Q4 2019 through Q4 2022 transcripts for the Shenandoah County School Board, and there are no IRS liabilities. The attorney called the IRS, and the agent indicated for Q4 2020, the case for that period was resolved in August of 2023. Based on the transcript and the call, the Q4 2020 Form 941 has been resolved by the IRS. The agent also indicated that from her review of Q3 2020 and Q1 2021 Form 941 files, all of the submitted documents and tax returns for each period have been processed, and there are no funds due or refund due for the tax periods. So in essence, we received $139,712.81. We paid back $148,216.22, and now the IRS has given us $113,611.25 of that money back.
So
Definitely good news.
And do we look to get the
Questions?
rest of it?
I'm sorry, Brandy, I didn't hear you.
Do we look to get the rest of it?
So I am not hopeful of that. I think we take the $113,000 and deposit it and use it for items of need, like some replacement lawnmowers and snow blowers and things like that. But it really, we did it about face at least 3 times, if not more. And there was a lot of finance staff time spent fixing this, and we're most appreciative for them getting the penalties, interest abated earlier.
Well, Ms. Stein should be definitely commended about the extra hours she put on this to get all the paperwork straight. Any other questions on this? All right, going into 4.6, the Virginia School Board Association proposed legislative position amendments. Dr. Shepherd or Cindy?
Ms. Walsh.
So you elected me your delegate to the VSBA convention next week. And there are 4 legislative proposals which we discussed, or you were given notice of at our last meeting. I asked if everybody could get back to me by November 3rd if you had any objections to any of the 4 and wanted those pulled out to be voted on separately, and I did not hear from anybody. So with that, I assume the block is okay with the board to support the block of 4.
Comments?
I apologize, I was not here at the last meeting, and as I read through these, yeah, there were several that I just do not agree with. That would be, you know, the non-support of school choice.
Which proposal? There are 4 of them. Oh, so you're looking at ones that were not approved to be considered.
Right. I also, you know, there was another where the VSBA is talking about decriminalizing disorderly conduct. You know, with the current atmosphere over in Warren County, especially where they've got parents in an uproar, I'm really shocked that the VSBA would you know, sign on to decriminalizing disorderly conduct and some of, you know, things that definitely, I mean, if you are in a fight and you know, I don't know if a simple assault could be listed as disorderly conduct, but if you're breaking somebody's jaw, there should probably be some consequences for that one as well. So it's just interesting stuff. Again, from the VSBA,
Those aren't going to be voted on next week, and there's a process that starts in March if you'd like to have those addressed next year. We went through it last year around this time, what the process was, and nobody chose to object to any of the legislative positions in the handbook.
Yeah. So last year when we did go through this drill, and I was the alternate, and I got a look at the handbook, I became aware of this, I'll use the word arcane system that the VSBA has of looking at and discussing possible policy recommendations, and became aware that the board of directors are the ones that have pretty much carte blanche in developing these, and even though it takes them through the spring and summer of getting them developed, we had very, very little time to take a look at them. So it is true that we had these a couple of weeks now, I guess, but once again, they are lumped together in groups so that it's very difficult to disaggregate them. It's difficult for organizations, give credit to Warren County for taking a heroic trying to, the one that Brenda just indicated is one that's rather remarkable to me, that VSBA supports decriminalizing disorderly conduct for school-based offenses. And Warren says, in the current climate, many districts are struggling with serious discipline issues. There are many times when it is appropriate and necessary to charge a student with disorderly conduct, which sounds like good sense to Barlow. So I wish we had these ahead of time. Another example of one I really liked, I did do some research on it. Legislative proposal number 2 calls for state funding that supports implementation of the FBI Next Generation Identification Non-Criminal Justice Rat-Back Service, which is a mouthful. What it amounts to is that this program gives government agencies the right to receive notification of subsequent activity on individuals who hold positions of trust. And further research indicates that this means that those people in trust would be fingerprinted with the anticipation that if anything happened, they could be tracked. And the VSP narrative says, while participation in the service is anticipated to be voluntary, the system would be most useful with maximum participation. There's quite a bit of civil rights at risk here. And so there are 2 examples I give of how the SBA itself kind of comes up with this stuff that's, I'll use the word undemocratic and not very transparent and not very much time for us to respond. And the divisions that actually do take the time to do this pretty much get slam dunk, and I think it's rarer than hen's teeth that any of these make it through. So I'm not happy with this process, and I don't think it serves us well. I don't know what we can do at this point because VSBA does what it wants to do.
It is approved by a committee that has members that are regional, so we do have representation on that committee. But that's neither here nor there. I just want guidance for next week. If you all decide that you want to pursue changing the process or getting involved in the process earlier in the year when the notification comes out, which is around March, please go ahead. I just need to know guidance for next week.
Well, anything else?
One of them was proposed by Warren County, one of the ones that's in the...
Well, there were several from Warren County, yes.
No, but one of them is included in the ones we're voting on next week. They'll be offered as a block unless somebody pulls them out.
Yeah, once again, as I say, I'm fully aware of the process, which is, I take 20 minutes to describe how the process works, but I don't think it's democratic, I don't think it's transparent, and I choose not to be involved with it. I just think it gives the appearance of transparency and democracy, and it is not.
Anything else?
So I just want to clarify, so we can't just vote on the Warren County one? We can't just support theirs and throw the other?
Well, you can, if somebody goes on the floor of the delegation and says, I would like to pull this one out to vote on it separately, then you need 2/3 of the delegation to approve it.
Okay.
So I need guidance from you all whether I should vote yes on the block, or if there's anyone that you would like to pull out and ask me to vote no on if it's approved. But chances are it won't get 2/3 votes to be pulled out.
I would be okay with just scrapping the whole thing. That's just me.
And that's what I did last year. I was the only person in the state of Virginia who voted the way I did at the SBA.
Yeah, I kind of second that. I mean, you know, we give these folks a lot of money, and the thing is you know, what Warren had to do to be able to even get here, and you know, their school board members were treated so poorly. I mean, to the point that the VSBA had, you know, wrote letters to their chair and their superintendent and wanted them not, you know, to send their delegate, you know, to ask questions. There's nothing democratic about this at all. And of course, last year we learned that if you don't sign on, you as a board have to come back. The way it also works is if everything passes, even though, Cindy, you might have voted against everything, if we didn't as a board, okay, even at that, if as a board we didn't come back and make a public, you know, decree against this, our names, Shenandoah County Public Schools, were still included when it went to Richmond. We were included in that, and that we supported all of them. So it's really mob-like, to be honest with you, because the whole idea is to promote what everybody in education wants to see, and yet the little guys really their voices are very much silenced. So I'm okay with abstaining again this year and not supporting any of them.
That would mean that we wouldn't be supporting the Warren County legislative proposal that was approved. Just FYI.
I guess my question would be though, are they even in the VSBA anymore?
They're
No.
not.
But they did get one approved. Which one was it?
Anything else? Cindy, anything else?
Nope, I just need to know what I need to do. Warren County, the first one. School facility construction funds and financing. If you want me to abstain, then I will be abstained from approving that one as well.
Well, if they liked it, if the SBA liked it, that means it's going to get approved anyway. So, again, I'm okay with abstaining on all of them, even if, because we know it's going to pass. So,
What about the rest of the board? What do you want me to do? Okay, two of them that got onto the proposal list are from rural counties, and 2 of them are from more urban counties. So I would say this list of what they're going to vote on next week is definitely more balanced than last year's list was. So just tell me what to do.
Well, it's good that 2 rural counties got some in, because the previous year, I think it was all of them from Northern Virginia, if I remember correctly.
Most of them, yeah. But one was from Tazewell and one was from Warren this year.
Okay, this year.
This year.
Oh, it looks like it's a split. Andrew?
I don't care. I mean, I don't think it makes any difference. You know, we can argue about it all you want, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Right, and the objection is not to the legislative proposals that are before us that we're voting on next week. The objection is to the process and to the VSBA, so. You guys
Well, it's to both. There's hair on these dogs, but we haven't had much time to take a look at the ramifications of FBI fingerprinting key members of our staff. So I'm going to, I vote against that one on that basis until I found out more about it. But in the meantime, the process is not only arcane, it's a given. I mean, it's by the time it comes to us, it's all done. So no matter how we vote, those 2 rural counties aren't going to be counted up or down. Our poor vote isn't going to make 1 scintilla of a difference.
no, it's symbolic to some extent.
I would vote or abstain or vote against taking action on it, just because I think it's an unfair and undemocratic process.
Okay, that's fine, I can do that. Is everybody in agreement? I will abstain again this year.
Okay, moving on, 5.1, action item, proposed library material selection policy. Do I hear a motion?
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
I move to approve the proposed library material selection policy as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I second that.
Mr. Barlow, second. Discussion.
Yeah,
Andrew.
well, it's a collaborative effort, and I think that it does support our librarians, our teachers, our students, and our parents. It's not foolproof, and it's not the golden ticket to everybody's hopes and dreams, but I do think that it's a layer of oversight prior to the purchase of library books and materials that we need, and that I think that that is wanted. I think that we need to thank our librarians for their input, and of course Mr. Barlow for what I would call his thoughtful measures in preparing this policy.
Other discussion? Dennis?
Just for historical record, I'd like to go through this very, very quickly to indicate what I think we were trying to accomplish when we started this about a year ago, and make sure we kind of know where we're landing. Make sure everybody is clear. I'll be quick. Before I do that, I do want to give a special shout out to Andrew for coming up with, I think, are some really, really good insights that actually, I think the compromise we made actually made it a better policy, so I thank him for that. I want to thank Brandy for what I think has been a heroic set of inputs that she's made and a dogged determination to do the right thing in spite of the fact that she has taken a lot of abuse for that, even in the form of anonymous letters and so forth, because this has been an emotional topic. But I think she stood her ground, and she's come up with quite a bit of information that I felt was important. Along with Andrew, I do feel that each of our stakeholders and each of the professionals involved have a very key role to play, and so our guiding principles are the involvement of stakeholders, dealing with misinformation and disinformation, to have as libraries, Orla's opinion, should have some degree of classical and historic literature available, that professional review tools should be fair and well applied, and that we deal with the law dealing with sexually explicit content. Those I don't think should be hard for anybody to understand or to agree with. Specific guidelines, I'm not going to go through those, but those grow out of those general guidelines. For instance, should align ideally with Virginia standards of learning and be appropriate for the age and development level of students. I don't see anything that is controversial or ideological or political about any of those. Now, the stages in the selection and acquisition process. The recommendations for library materials will be made semi-annually by the school librarians. They will provide those lists to their school principals, who will develop a final draft list of the books. The public will be notified through a final draft of materials that will be published on by the superintendent's office on the website. And then the change that, and Andrew, I'm going to specifically shout out to you. I think this was a kind of a brilliant stroke. That this list then will be forwarded to the Department of Instruction for reviews, where the directors of elementary and secondary education then will take it on. They'll evaluate the list based on stakeholder comments and guidelines provided in this policy. If they recommend approval and pass the list with a recommendation to purchase to the superintendent, that will be it. If the directors desire to judge one or more titles, they will recommend an evaluation of the titles in question by a subcommittee of 3 members of the Parent Community Advisory Committee nominated by the school board and selected by the superintendent. So this allows for parental oversight based on the initial screen of the list by the 2 directors. Committee will develop a succinct report on its findings for the recommendation to the superintendent, who will pass this on to the school board. We made specific recommendation that weeding, that is getting rid of books, also be included in the plan along with acquisitions. And we finally said that this would be a sunset policy that would be in effect from January 1st to December 31st of the next calendar year, and that unless rescinded at the conclusion of the term, the policy will be reviewed for sufficiency and amended, rescinded, or continued in force. So next year will be, if you will, a trial year to see how that works in achieving the goals that we've stated here in the policy. I think that's a very workable policy. We've been told by the administration that it will work. So we do look forward to the regulations that will be coming from the superintendent's office based on the policy. And I think that might be it, except to once again thank Dr. Shepard and Dr. Heingartner for what I think has been a really difficult job of seeing us through a controversial concept without themselves getting involved politically or otherwise, and providing very objective and sound guidance, and their good offices. And I think that is what has made this this possible for us to be at this moment. So I didn't mean to be long-winded, Mr. Chair, but I just think a lot of people were unaware of what the final policy was. So I wanted to give it an overview.
Okay. Other comments? Cindy, you're not spoken.
Yeah, I appreciate that there was compromise on this. There were certain parts of it that were a deal breaker to me, but I really appreciate the hard work. I especially appreciate the appendix at the end. I think that says it all, what the criteria for selection should be, and that's what the librarians wanted most. So I think they're going to be very happy to have that in writing, that appendix. I worry a little bit that there's no timelines put into the review process, really, but I'm hopeful that it'll move quickly. And that books don't get held up for months and months in this process. Did you all discuss how long they would be on a website for comment? No? Okay.
I believe that it indicated that it would be on there 30 days.
Yeah.
For the school, before the school board would take final action.
But
Andrew?
I don't want to interrupt.
No, go ahead, because I think at one point.
Well, I mean, I
said it
think
differently.
ideally, I believe that the librarian should have that list submitted to their principals before the end of the school year, for the next school year.
Well, excuse me, it is it talks about twice a year, so it's a semi-annual process.
So they can restock in, at the winter break if they need to for the second semester. No, I appreciate that too.
Anything else, Cindy?
No, thank you.
Okay, Kyle.
I mean, although it was, and I pointed this out, a long process, probably longer than it should have taken, really appreciate Dennis and Andrew. No matter what anyone says about anybody up here, we've done a lot of compromising over the last 2 years or so on different things, and this is another example. If you look at it from a fair and unbiased perspective, I don't think you can sit here and say this was a biased left-wing or right-wing process. I think it was fair, different perspectives involved. The librarians got to provide their feedback, and I appreciate everyone's hard work, the school board staff, school board members, and librarians, because I know it took a long time. So good to have something here to vote on tonight, and we'll see what happens.
Brandon.
I would like to thank Dr. Heingartner and Dr. Shepard for being the middleman, not having to pull out any what's the word I'm looking for? You were graceful, you stayed neutral, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the hard work that went in to the policy by Andrew, and you've been a pleasure, and you know, it's a painful process, but I appreciate all the hard work that you did. You came to the table, and you know, it's a great policy. Dennis, you know, regardless of what the vote is this evening, you've been wonderful. You've taken a lot of hits, and I've learned a whole lot about culture and about folks that work for us and about the community, and how emotional this was. And you know, I really wish that we had that in a lot of other areas, you know, where we packed the boardroom on why, you know, kids aren't reading, or what we need to do to you know, make things better in other ways. As the librarian said, you know, you've got other problems than this, but it's been extremely eye-opening. This procedure and this policy not only has to do with sexually explicit materials, but it has to do with culture, a culture of the public schools. What is out there, and you know, we have a lot of folks that want to make this political. Culture is everything, and if we do not protect the culture of the institution that we have here, we're going to lose it. And you know, folks can walk out the door at any time, take their kids, and say, you know what? Not only do I not have a say, but you know, what is available on the shelves is just not what we should be giving kids. So yeah, it took way longer than it should have. But I am appreciative of all the hard work that went into it. So thank you.
All right, I haven't spoken on this. I'm going to support it, but I have reservations on a couple of things. I think it's micromanaging the librarians, and that sends to me the wrong impression that they're not valued, whatever. And I hope that does not case. But the compromise was good. The committee that worked on that. And I'll sum this up with doing open house at the Southern campus. I talked to one librarian, and she said, Marty, what has happened? When President Reagan was president in the 80s, he preached smaller government and less regulation, and we really got away from that. I remember the conversation, but maybe that's a culture we have now. We have to. Okay, anything else? Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall,
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Houseman.
Yes, motion carried by 6-0 vote. Moving on, 5-2, proposed 25 budget development calendar and school board meeting dates for 24. Dr. Shepherd.
It's option. You just need a motion.
Motion, I'm sorry, you're exactly right. You'll hear a motion on 5-2. Thanks for clarifying that, Cindy.
And this is
Dr. Shepherd.
This is something that we can adjust if we need to next year.
Yes. Can we abstain if we're not going to be here?
No, I'm voting. I move to approve the fiscal year 2025 budget development calendar and the 2024 school board meeting dates as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Walsh. Discussion. Question. Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall,
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Houseman.
Yes, vote carried 6-0. 5-3, personnel. Motion. Hello?
I move that we approve the personnel list as presented.
Motion made by Ms. Walsh to approve the personnel as presented. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Keller. Roll call vote. Ms. Jett?
Mr. Barlow?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall?
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
And Mr. House?
Yes. Motion carried by a 6-0 vote. Moving on, Superintendent Monthly Report. Dr. Shepherd, do you have any highlights?
I have a few comments. Our October attendance increased from 92.8% in 2022 to 94.5% this year. We'd like to thank our families for making sure that our students go to school each day, and to our staff for their efforts to encourage attendance. Our schools are currently hosting their school level spelling bees. Good luck to all the students participating. The winners will compete at the division level bee in January, and I was able to attend the end of one today, and the spelling word that won was fiddleheads. So next week is American Education Week. Each of our staff members plays a unique and essential role in ensuring that our students have the support they need to achieve their full academic potential. Thank you to all of our teachers and staff for their dedication to our students, families, and school community. The All-County Choir Concert will be held this Saturday at 3 p.m. at Central High School, and then our marching bands will also perform at several Veterans Day events on Saturday. Athletics, I would like to wish good luck to our athletes competing in regional and state events this weekend. Our Central High School and Strasburg High School football teams compete in the Region 2B quarterfinals tomorrow evening. Central High School volleyball team competes in the Class 2 state quarterfinals this Saturday, November the 11th. And we have athletes from all 3 high schools competing in the state cross-country meet this Saturday.
Questions? Comment. The attendance that you spoke to, do parents realize that if a student is absent at the beginning of the day or tardy, they can go in at 2 o'clock and get counted for the full day?
They should, yes.
Well, I took a student out of North Fork, and he came back the next day, and we got him there, so it count. But I'm not quite sure about all parents know that. Well, anyway, anything else? Board comments? Moving on? No? That's it? Who wants to go first? Dr. Keller.
I passed this time. I'll reserve my time for next.
Pass. Ms. Rutz.
Pass.
Go Falcons football, volleyball, and even the Rams football tomorrow.
Thank you, Kyle.
Miss Cindy. Ms. Walsh.
I'm glad Melody went through all of the different athletics, because I was going to say all of those. I'm really proud of our students throughout the county and in their efforts in sports. And our marching band competition season is over. There's a couple more performances, as Melody mentioned, they are all fantastic marching bands. They all did really well. Sometimes their scores don't show it. We have got the most dedicated music teachers in the world in Shenandoah County, and it shows in the success of our students. One thing that I forgot to say when we were talking about the library book policy is I think one of the reasons that it took so long was because a policy like this is actually unprecedented in the state of Virginia. So it's one that that I think needed a thorough look. And as I said earlier, I appreciate that there was a compromise in the end, but I think that helps to explain why, because there's not a policy like that in Virginia right now, unless there's one since we started. There wasn't when we started. And then Dennis and I both attended the Take Your Legislator to School event in Harrisonburg. I went to the first half, he went to the second half. I mentioned the part that I went to, we toured an elementary school in Harrisonburg. And I would just encourage current board members who are going on, new board members, to embrace opportunities to network, especially regionally, because it was so great. Listening to Melody with Dr. Richards, are you doing this? Are you doing that? And then also just being able to talk to the principal at this elementary school about his challenges and the things that he's proud of. It makes you feel like you're a part of something, and you're not the only ones dealing with the same challenges or the same positive things. I would encourage you, especially regionally. Harrisonburg and Rockingham are great partners in a lot of things, and it was also very funny to see that school because it looks so much like our schools that were built during the same time period. So, and then Dennis can tell you about how the legislator part went. I couldn't stay for that.
Then, Mr. Barlow.
So, first thing I want to do is congratulate the three will be the newest members of the school board in January. I see that they sat in geographical order, so you guys are all trained already. But everybody up here knows how much effort it takes to do this job, to do it conscientiously. And I think we do that, and we know that we'll do that. And God bless you for it. But it gets tough, but thanks for taking it on, and look forward to working with you guys. Went to take your legislators to lunch today. It was all set to do battle with my ideological counterparts, and instead we came to a meeting of the mind on some great issues that we know we have to address, specifically drugs in school and what role that's taking. And it was I think very edifying that across the spectrum everybody understood that was something that has to be taken on seriously. And even to the concept, the related concept of having, when there are those people who are released kind of back in to our school system from incarceration or from healthcare or whatever, that we're aware of who we have and what the background is. And this helps us do what Dr. Heingartner's talking. 20 years ago we would never say job one is safety, but now we do say job one is safety. And so both of these things I think speak to that. So I think that was very healthy for me to see and taking part in. At the risk of it being Debbie Downer, I am going to, I guess Denny Downer would be more like it, but I do want to say that we ostensibly took a lot of time to look at the library policy to see what was going on, and we saw a lot. And I have indicated some of those concerns to the superintendent, and so there really isn't an argument. We didn't have a policy. There was no policy, folks. There's not even an evaluation for librarians. They're evaluated the same as teachers, and the scope of librarians is a whole lot different than teachers. And so, Dr. Shepard, I don't envy you coming up with regulations to come up with this, because there were a lot of empty policy limits here that just needed to be filled. And so, but I do repose great trust in this in the central office staff as well as the whole school system, and I'm sure that'll be done properly. I just wanted to clear that up. And I will say, I'll say something personal just before I stop here, and that is that one time after we left here, Andrew, if I'm telling tales, I'm sorry, put his hand on my shoulder and said, kind of tough tonight. And it was, because it's not easy to hear people tell you that you've written terrible policy and you're a racist for writing this policy, or writing policy is micromanaging, or that parents are too dumb word actually used in this room. So we have to, but I'm the kind of guy, it hurts for a while and then it gets better, and then I'm okay again. Maybe I shouldn't be that needy. It takes me a while, but it takes me a while to get over some of that. For you guys, it's going to happen, and the thing to do is just decide. You guys are really, really young. I'm the old guy here. I used to watch. You probably remember Fess Parker. What
Use the hands up here at the chair.
Call me for holy. What was Davy Crockett. Davy Crockett used to come on. He said, "Be sure you're right, then go ahead." I don't know why that sounds like such a pearl of wisdom, but anyway, yeah, when you know you're right, you go ahead and you don't sweat the small stuff. So it's sometimes it's painful, and then you just rub it off and then you go on. So with those words of wisdom from Fess Parker or Walt Disney, whoever it was, I'll turn it over to the chair.
All right, I got a few things. First of all, Jessica Sager, I reckon she was the key in planning the celebration down at Mountain View, and a lot of us went, and this was the second year, and what a great celebration that was to coordinate that. And she doesn't get the credit she rightly deserves, but Jessica, you do a great job, whatever. You probably need an assistant, but anyway. Also, I had the pleasure, probably one of the pleasure at being a school board member is to read to an elementary class. And I went to Andrew's Sandy Hook. I read to a first grade class, and the book was The Day the Farmer Quits. Okay? And Miss Howler's first grade class asked her students to send thank you notes. First grade class. I mean, I was touched. It came through the pony, and just Cheryl gave it to me this week. So, I mean.
What was the name of the book? The Day the Farmer
Quits.
Quits.
And I took the book I purchased, The Day the Teacher Quits, and I gave her the book to keep in her room. So anyway, that was a good morning for me. And let's see, Cindy and I, we cut the ribbon at the playground equipment at Mountain View that Doug Price coordinated, spearheaded for the severe handicapped students down there. And we do a lot in this county, but we do not neglect any student. The needs that they have, and Mr. Rice should be commended for that facility. And lastly, I will say the outdoor classroom in Northport should be open by December 1. It's coming along. If you get there, you can see it. The FFA at Northport was very proud of that. And on that note, meeting adjourned at 8:56.